Welcome to Every Album in a Row from Thunder Underground. My name is Trent, joined by Jason. We're from the Thunder Underground podcast. We got a weekly podcast that we do, sometimes bi-weekly. Not to be confused with bisexual.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Sorry, right off the bat. But
hey, there's nothing wrong with that.
Okay. Well, Every Album in a Row is a new thing we started a little over a week ago. Or was it 2 weeks ago now? That's irrelevant. We did Metallica. Now we're doing Megadeth.
Why not?
Right. Seemed like a natural transition. So it is just as it sounds. We listen to every album in a row from the first song to the last song on the newest album.
Yeah, every studio album, all the way through in order, chronological order. We did it separately on our own time, whatever. They're both done. We convene and do this and just kind of talk about it.
Right. Because we all know these albums. If you're listening to this, you probably know these albums, but have you really ever sat down and just listened to them in order to hear the progression or the differences and the flow and all that kind of stuff? And with Megadeth, there's a big long transition / flow, if you want to say.
It is.
That's 16 albums.
16 albums, and it's
I say 15 albums and hidden treasures.
Yeah, I mean, highs, lows, more highs than lows with Megadeth. But I mean, it's just in 16 records. It's a journey. That's crazy.
Yeah, I've never done that with any band.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I've listened to. There's tons of bands that have 16 or more albums that I've listened to all of them at some point, but never all in succession like this. Never even Megadeth. Way back in the day, like we talked about when we were kids. We both did this probably with Megadeth and Metallica and Anthrax and whoever else we loved.
Oh yeah, all the time.
But as
that
you get deeper into it,
that was back when they had like 6 albums out or whatever. Yeah. This is crazy, and to see how it's all, like I said before, just where it's all gone. It's nuts.
Yeah, and the thing with Metallica, the first one we did, everybody knows there's big gaps in there. As we got once you got deep into it, once you got past load, there started to be gaps between albums. And that's how, a lot of bands that have been around 30 years or more are. Megadeth is now 31 years since their first album came out. 15 studio albums in that 31 years, which is pretty unheard of these days.
Yeah, that's like every couple of years.
Yeah, I think I looked at it, and I think 3 years is the biggest gap they've ever gone. They've done that 2 or 3 times.
Really?
In the past 20 years, basically. But,
yeah.
Those first 3 albums all came out within 3 years. Or the first 4 albums, basically.
Yeah.
So this is a band that's pumped out music and never shied away from it, even, when metal took its dip and rise back up. Pumping out music, and he's never slowed down.
Never.
As far as putting stuff out, he has slowed down the music at times, but we'll get to that.
and they've never, they're writing again, so they're
already.
Yeah, I read a thing where, so they're not resting on the laurels of dystopia and all that. They're, they're just going. They're keeping it up.
Yeah, it's already been a year now since Dystopia came out.
Yes, sir.
So we could do this again next year.
Maybe.
But kind of like Jason mentioned, the rules on this thing are just every studio album. If a band has an album like Hidden Treasures where it's all unreleased or B-sides that were actual songs, not like here's a bunch of 24 demos. We're not listening to that.
Yeah. But here's 80 versions of Symphony of Destruction. Fuck that.
Right. But some bands have albums like Hidden Treasures where it compiled all the soundtrack stuff and the B-sides. That's basically it.
Yeah.
That's our rules. We're going to do more of these in the future as we go. We'll get to that here in a bit. Yeah. So just getting right into this. First album out the gate is Killing Is My Business. And business is good?
Yes.
I asked that like a question, even though I know the answer.
It's good with Megadeth.
I don't know when the last time is I listened to this album straight through. Mm-hmm. Actually, the first 3 albums. I obviously have way back in the day, but any time recently off all these, but never straight through. Rest in Peace and On is the stuff that I've listened to.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's kind of, especially this first one, it's kind of a refresher for me. And this thing's just a balls out thrash record.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it doesn't let up, and it's nasty and it's raw. And for me, I don't know. I mean, I never really enjoyed that CD too much. And I think it was just because it was so, it was kind of thin and stuff in the sound. But now they have that remastered version, which is great. So that's better improvement. But it seems to be such, and I think, God, it seems like we might have said something like this about Metallica, but these first 3-4 records is like, here's this band, this is what we're doing. And then it was like totally different.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, it was just more, these first 4 records were just like, pedal to the metal. Let's think of the most intricate riff we can make up and play it as fast as we can.
Right.
And, it was just, there was just no letting up on in that whole era.
Well, I think the thing I noticed too that we talked about in Metallica was when you went from Kill 'Em All to Ride the Lightning, even though it's still significant difference in what was going on.
Yeah.
As far as Kill 'Em All was just more in your face, kind of like killing your business. Killing is my business is. And when you got to Ride the Lightning, it became more this epic thing.
Yeah.
And I noticed that too with Peace Sells as well. Not as a whole, but several of the songs had a grander feel, and they weren't just like punching you in the face like the first album.
Yeah, I really feel like that's kind of their arrival is Peace Sells.
Yeah.
I mean, you hear bands all the time throughout history talking about a sophomore slump and the second record's never as good. This is almost like the first record to me.
Yeah.
And Killing Is My Business was like a demo or something.
Right.
I mean, Peace Sells was just really like, and it really gave them their identity, really.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that when listening to this, but back when we were kids and listening to Megadeth, and I got into them with Countdown Extinction and Rest in Peace, and then went backwards. I listened to Killing My Business a few times, but never at the scale I did Peace Sells or anything after that. That's probably the sense a lot of people had, That's just that's that first one that you just kind of blow off, but it's got great stuff on it. That's cool to listen to.
Yeah. Devil's Island kicks ass.
Yeah.
No one ever talks about that as much, so I'm mentioning that.
Well, with Peace Sells and So Far So Good, so all 3 of these albums, another interesting thing is you've got these first 3 albums only have 8 songs apiece on them.
Yeah.
So they're 3 albums deep whenever Rest in Peace comes out, and they've only got 24 songs in their name, and one of them's a cover. So, you've got studio songs to your name, which in a way is kind of cool because, it's, back in that era was when people pumped out albums a little more quicker.
Yeah.
And, they were doing shorter thrash songs. There weren't any, epic long, like Metallica was doing and like they started to do later.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that was kind of the times, and now everything is. I really like when albums are 8 songs long, and bam, there it is.
Yeah.
But I really liked going back and revisiting So Far So Good So What. I hadn't done that in a while. 502 and Hook and Mouth are just
and Liar.
Yeah, I was like, man, I forgot how great this stuff is. Why do I want to listen to it? I'm always just like, oh, Megadeth, I'll listen to whatever's new or Cryptic Writings,
Yeah.
But I mean, this stuff is just killer. And probably a lot of the purists out there right now are calling us pussies and posers and all that stuff, but I don't care,
Well, it's kind of like we talked about, like if you didn't listen to that, we kind of, the age when we got into this stuff, we were like 13, 14 was around 89, 90. So we were latching on to the stuff that was out right then, which was Rust in Peace, and Justice for All. So that's kind of, you got into that and then started going backwards.
Yeah.
But yeah, listening to these 3 in a row, So Far So Good So What, jumped out at me as my favorite of the 3, I think.
Yeah.
And
nice.
Just those songs, like I said, Liar, I just forgot about, like you said, Mouth, and of course, In My Darkest Hour, everybody knows and loves. It's just a great album.
Yeah, you can't go wrong. You really can't.
Well, then the big one came out.
Then we have the Big Daddy here.
Yeah. That's obviously where shit got way more focused, I guess, would be a good word to use. Yeah. Like, it's not like the other stuff was unfocused. It just became something totally different. The piece started.
Yeah.
And from then on.
I mean, that was an album I listened to multiple times a day, every day.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't express to you enough how much I listened to that album. Anytime I could get it in, I'd get it in. You know, I had my Walkman. It was just, I had never heard anything like it. I mean, I had heard Metallica, and that was great, you know, obviously. But then when Rust in Peace was the first thing I heard from Megadeth, and I was like, what the fuck is this? It was so fast, and it was just like violent.
Yeah.
I mean, and you know, his voice sounds like somebody's stepping on his balls, but like in a good way, you know.
Yeah.
It's just so mean and like just shrill. I mean, it was insane. You know, when you're like 12, you're like, I better not let my parents hear this.
Yeah.
They'll kill me, you know.
But yeah, that's one of those albums where every single song, favorite song in this album, and then the next song starts and like, oh shit,
yeah.
You know. It's like the riff on Holy Wars is like one of the greatest things ever in metal history.
It is.
And that whole thing, you know, Hangar 18 got outplayed at some point, but the whole ending of that is amazing.
Yeah, it is.
You know, and my favorite song on the whole thing is probably Tornado of Souls. And every song before it is just as great as it. So.
Yeah. I mean, I could sing every goddamn solo on that record to you like I was singing the words. That's how, I mean, forget it, man. Yeah. Just forget it.
Happened there between So Far So Good So What when he was writing that, if it was something where he thought this needs to become a bigger thing than it is, or if that's just the natural transition.
I don't know what happened, but well, I'm glad he thought of it, whatever it is, you know.
Yeah.
So,
and this is also the first album to feature the classic lineup of Marty Friedman and Nick Mizza.
Yes.
With the two Daves.
Yep.
And together was an amazing run of albums.
Yes, it was.
I noticed when listening to Rust in Peace and Countdown to Extinction back to back, is Rust in Peace Polaris flows into Skin of My Teeth really well.
Yeah.
Like Skin of My Teeth could be on Rust in Peace.
Oh, Skin of My Teeth could definitely been on Rust in Peace.
I mean, there's several songs on Countdown that obviously couldn't.
Yeah.
But Skin of My Teeth really just like kept that vibe going.
It sure did. And I mean, and that was the ushering in of the new era, you know, of, you know, we're going to try to get some mainstream things going on. We're going to try to get some radio stuff. And it, you know, and that was like kind of era number 2 of Megadeth, you know?
Yeah.
With Countdown and Euthanasia and stuff.
So one thing I was wondering whenever listening to this, because we talked about it with Metallica, how when the Black Album came out, they lost some of the early fans, the thrash purists or whatever, and gained all this huge new audience. But was I just too young enough, you know, because whenever this came out, I was like 14 or 15. But was I too young enough to know that that was going on with Megadeth too? I mean, with Symphony and Foreclosure of a Dream and Sweating Bullets, you know, those are the type of songs I would think that if you're a thrash purist, you'd be like, what the fuck is this shit?
Oh, I remember hearing those going, well, people are going to be pissed off about this.
Yeah.
I thought it was great. You know, I thought it was epic. You know, Foreclosure of a Dream, come on. But, I mean, I knew it was like, oh, be pissed, you know. And they were. I remember it. I remember all the shit talk.
Okay.
You know, about Megadeth and Metallica both doing that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, but oh well. It's a great album, you know, suck a dick.
Yeah. Well, yeah, from start to finish, every damn song the same way as Rust in Peace.
That's right.
Every single song, you know. This Was My Life, Countdown to Extinction, High Speed Dirt. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and I can't even tell you, it's hard for me to tell you which one. You know, they're obviously Rust in Peace is the one everyone goes to, but you know, Countdown is whenever I really became a massive fan, I guess. So I don't know. It's just, if that's the reason it's harder for me to pick.
Yeah.
But as we get into it, it's even harder. The next two albums are as high on that level for me as those two albums. And I mean, Euthanasia is still carries on the same vibe that these previous two had.
Yeah, they do.
I mean, they first, what was it? "To Limon" was the first kind of song to go in that direction, and it gave him radio success as well, but it was right in between all these other songs that were still thrash.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, and you know, and good thrash and good hard rock, you know. I think Addicted to Chaos and Legion of Fields and stuff. I mean, just great stuff. Blood of Heroes.
Yeah. Yeah, you can start to see a slight transition of what's to come, but like it fits perfectly well into those previous albums.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, well, Hidden Treasures is next.
Yeah. And that had a lot of gems in it, you know, a lot of stuff from their soundtracks and this kind of stuff. Angry Again, which I think is one of their best songs ever. You know, it's catchy. It's just, you know, it sticks to you.
Yeah. And that, to me, maybe I should do some more research, but to me, that's the greatest sides ever released.
That's a good point.
There might be something I'm not thinking of. I don't know, but all 7 or 9 of those songs are just great. Like Go to Hell. You know, if I could make a Megadeth set list, that would be on there every time.
Yeah, definitely.
And like you said, Angry Again, 99 Ways to Die.
I like Breakpoint.
Yeah.
I think that was on some stupid fucking Super Mario Brothers movie.
Shocker or something? Oh, was it Mario Brothers?
Yeah, one of those songs is on the Mario Brothers movie. I can't remember. Yeah. But wasn't No More Mr. Nice Guy that covered that? Well, that was on Shocker.
Oh, that's what it was, yeah.
Yeah.
And Ways to Die was on the Beavis and Butthead Do America.
Yep, that's right. I mean, yeah. So, you know, and the next was Cryptic Writings, and, you know, fucking forget about it.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the same guys, but that was kind of like another kind of era starting. It just, that record had such a different vibe about it. It was like polished and catchy, but it sounded a little, you know, not as slick. I don't know, man. I mean, I'm just some idiot, but that record, it connected with us, and it was surprising because that was at a time when some of these bands weren't making their best records.
Yeah.
And they were just like, well, we don't care. We're still going to kick ass.
Yeah.
You know? And they did.
Yeah. Well, the Disintegrators, Sin, FFF, all 3 of these songs could have easily been on the previous albums.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Then there's several songs that obviously that's where it took that more hard rock.
Almost Honest.
Yeah. Almost Honest is in my top 5 Megadeth songs ever. I don't give a shit what anyone thinks about that either.
I wish we could see them do that live.
Yeah. And I will also say that these 4 albums in a row, Rust in Peace through Cryptic Writings, is one of the best 4 album spans ever.
Yeah.
Because it's not, you think about huge bands, and a lot of them have like 3 good albums in a row.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Metallica obviously has 4 good albums in a row. Tesla, Def Leppard. But outside of that, I mean, can you think of something? Motley Crue never had 4 straight albums in a row that were great. Theater of Pain fucked that up. Guns N' Roses technically didn't, because I mean, I guess if you count Lies as an album, I don't know. And, you know, I mean, who at this high level, you know, I mean, maybe, you know, Zeppelin, I guess, but still, it's not that common.
Yeah.
And so many people.
They did it. They did it.
And so many people don't give Cryptic Writings the chance they should have, I think. And I understand it isn't for the most part. It's got some thrash stuff on it, but you know, there was a time, you know, there was a period for the longest time where I'd say that was my favorite Megadeth album.
Yeah.
And, you know, now it's kind of, especially after listening to this, doing what we just did, it's hard to say that. I mean, Rust in Peace is their best album, whether it's my favorite or not.
Yeah.
But it's hard to say that I love Cryptic Writings more than the 3 albums previous, but it's pretty much like a 4-way tie at times.
Yeah, it was, like I said, you know, something was in the water for them because a lot of bands weren't putting out their best stuff, and they hit it out of the park with Cryptic Writings.
Yeah.
What a great record that was.
Well, in 2010 and in 2012, on tour and did the 20th anniversaries of Rest in Peace and Countdown to Extinction. And if anyone is listening to this that knows Dave Mustaine, tell him, hey, it's 20-year anniversary of Cryptic Writings. You can do one show in Tulsa. I'll get at least 20 people there.
Yeah, he'll go for that. Yeah. He'll go for that, for sure. You know? Free, fuck it.
Yeah, you never know. Well, now comes the big one.
Yep, let's get into it. It's going to be rough. It's not going to be pretty, but Risk is next.
Yeah.
You know? And you had one of the, you know, you've got a great saying for this, and I think you said it about load. So I'll let you start off on this one. Okay,
well, yeah, it's the same thought process as load. It's like if any other band came out with this album, if this was a band's first album I ever heard of, so it was great.
Yeah.
But it's not great. It's not Megadeth great. It's not Megadeth.
You know, my Megadeth, as Chris Adler would say.
Yeah. This is exactly what Chris Adler probably does not like.
Yeah. Yeah, I really thought that Risk had great. I don't care. I'll take all the shit for it, but Insomnia, Prince of Darkness, Time, those are Megadeth songs.
Yeah.
Those are heavy, they're fast. That's classic Megadeth. But the rest of it, and you know, I like some of these songs. I like Breadline, you know, I like I'll Be There, and they're fucking way out there.
Well, we've talked about this.
I like them as rock songs.
For the last 18 years, we've talked about how Breadline is one of the greatest hard rock songs I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's just hooky and it sounds fun and all this crazy shit. I mean, it's nuts.
Yeah, if any other band had put this out, that would have been like a radio hit staple on the radio.
You're right.
And there's so many, you know, there's so many songs that, like you said, there's songs on here that are good. When you put it right after those 4 albums that it came after, you're like, what the hell is this?
I know.
It's like Wanderlust. If when you turn the CD over, it said Bon Jovi on the front.
What about I'll Be There, where he does that like one of those talking things like they used to do in love songs back in the 70s. Like, hey, girl, I know you're mad, but I'm really sorry. I mean, he did that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, what the fuck?
Right.
But at the same time, I kind of got to commend him for it because he's got balls the size of church bells for doing that shit and putting Megadeth on it.
Yeah.
Like, okay, well, that was ballsy move, if anything. You know?
Well, I suck, by the way, as a song.
Well,
in my opinion. Everything else is good, whether it's Megadeth good or not.
Well, they can't all be first-round draft picks, right. I'm sorry.
Top 5 worst Megadeth songs, Ecstasy and The Doctor's Calling is in there.
See, I didn't mind The Doctor's Calling. I didn't mind any of it because, you know, I like catchy stuff, but it was just because it was Megadeth.
Well, yeah, I mean, here we are in the middle of like their most controversial album, or my least favorite album of theirs. And I don't hate anything. Like Megadeth is one of those bands that doesn't really do wrong by me, even if it's stuff that isn't as great as it could be. It's still better than a lot of bands.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't, Metallica, Megadeth, and Anthrax, they'll never do anything wrong in my eyes. I'm such a fanboy.
Yeah.
Oh, you did a Nickelback cover? Cool. I want to hear it.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't matter. It's sad, but that's the truth.
Yeah. Well, after that ends, a couple years later, they came out with The World Needs a Hero.
Yeah. And this is where, you know, lineup changes started happening again.
Holy Risk was, same for who was on that besides
Jimmy DeGrasso was on Risk.
Okay, DeGrasso, yeah. Because Marty Friedman was still there.
Yeah, Marty Friedman was still there for that. Yeah, that's right.
So it was Jimmy DeGrasso's first album. So then this World Needs a Hero is Jimmy DeGrasso and Al Pitrelli.
Yeah.
And I actually have this album autographed by this lineup.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
With, of course, the 2 Daves. And
yeah.
This album, it's good, but it's kind of like, I listened to it and like 3/4 the way through, I was like, this is just like a poor man's Cryptic Writings. It's the same style as Cryptic Writings, where it's not thrashy like the early stuff, but it's solid, it's heavy, it's fast, it's got hard rock stuff, it's got heavier stuff. Writings, but it's the same style of thing in my opinion.
I thought it just seemed like it was kind of a phoned in deal on this one.
Yeah.
You know, like they just weren't putting all their guts into it. I mean, I like Disconnect. I like Motorcycle, which, you know, not a lot of people like that song, but I dug it. I did not like the whole Return to Hangar thing.
Okay, I had that written down to ask you what your thoughts were on Return.
I don't know. It didn't. It was just kind of like, let's change the words around a little bit, and you know, the Metallica guys have an Unforgiven sequel. Let me, you know, maybe that's not the case, and maybe I'm a dick for saying that, but I don't know. I just didn't really, you know, whatever.
Yeah. Well, just like I said about Risk, it wasn't bad. It was just like, eh.
Yeah.
And 1,000 Times Goodbye, I think that's a great song, except for all the damn talking just pisses me off. Mm-hmm. If that was out of there, that would be the best song on the album, in my opinion.
And then what I noticed is from here on, just get better and better and better. You know,
that's exactly what I wrote down.
Nice. It's I don't think it's something we have to go into huge detail about, you know, but I mean, it seems like there was no pun intended, a disconnect after Risk, and things were a little discombobulated. And, you know, they kind of started cleaning house gradually. And, you know, from System to now, the system has failed to now, everything has kind of been built back up again. And, you know, it's a good thing.
Yeah. Well, I wrote something down, not to jump clear ahead, but it seemed like, just like you said, there was this slow climb where everything just kept getting better. And by the time 13 came out, you know, we're back to sounding like Megadeth. And then Super Collider came out.
Yeah.
Right in the middle of that. And then Dystopia came out, and we're even closer to what everybody loves about Megadeth.
Yeah.
But Super Collider is just like slammed right there towards. And it lost a lot of people. I like the album.
Yeah, I don't understand that. Super Collider's fine. People acted like it was fucking Load all over again or something.
No.
It's like, you know, shut the fuck up. It's not my favorite album by them, but I mean, I think it's got some great moments on it. You know, Kingmaker, Burn. Come on, I mean, go listen to those two songs. That's Megadeth. It really is.
Right. But going back to the order of the albums, the System Has Failed was good, but that was real good on the first half of the album. Notice that the second half was kind of really lost me. I could add good stuff, but at the same time, it's like, this isn't something I think I'm ever going to go back and listen to straight through again.
I don't know. I liked Back in the Day. That was.
Oh yeah, that was a great song.
Yeah.
No, hold it.
That was in the last half of that album, wasn't it?
No, that's the one I took. Yeah, Tears in a Vial is a great song. Right after that is Back in the Day, or 2 songs later, and I'm like, man, what the. Yeah, because the song after Tears in a Vial is like a interlude.
Yeah.
Weird as fuck.
Oh, well, fuck you then, man.
It's not bad, once again. It's just not whatever.
Hey, that's okay. That's all right. That's all right.
But then whenever United Abominations came out, it's the return. This is the one where it finally returned to complete heavy Megadeth.
Yes.
All killer, no filler type album.
That's right.
You know, this is the official return. Like from Cryptic Writings, this is the first one that's completely solid straight through, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is. And except I like Washington Is Next. I like America Stand, or is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, I think it's America Stand.
However, though, I will say I don't like the Tulamon with Christina Scabia. Stupid.
Yeah.
They sped it up, and it doesn't sound, you know, she's got a great voice and stuff, but it just doesn't sound, it sounds too forced.
It's not near as good as the other one.
Yeah, they should have left that one.
An interesting note, if you didn't know, that was originally intended to be Lisa Marie Presley, which you probably knew.
Oh, that's right. I totally forgot about all that.
And then due to her record label or whatever not allowing it to happen, They said they could record it, just not put it on the album. And he said, nope, this is going on the album. So he went to plan B. Better plan in the first place.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though I have no problem with Lisa Marie Presley, but I just figure he was probably doing that because it would have garnered a little more attention than some, singer from a metal band.
Yeah.
But
hey, what do you do?
Yeah. But yeah, this is a great album. And then this was the last one with Glenn Drover.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I noticed is Burnt Ice, the last song. That's a great song, by the way. Ice ends and Dialectic Chaos starts. You can tell it's Chris Broderick.
Yeah.
You can tell it's, no offense to Chris, no offense to Glenn Drover. He's great, obviously.
But it just automatically, you think, there's some guy with
someone
48 fingers playing here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, because Drover had a different style, and he was a great guitarist, great solos, but wasn't like a fucking maniac.
Yeah.
And then Broderick shows up and everything for the next 3 albums.
Yeah.
There's just crazy stuff going on.
Yeah. But like 44 minutes, fuck, that's a great song.
That's my favorite song.
Yeah.
Everything's Over by Sight Now. That's my favorite song post Cryptic Writings.
Nice. Okay.
Even including Dystopia, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's my favorite song of the last 20 years of Megadeth.
Nice. Head Crusher's badass too.
Yeah. Yeah, 13, 20 Degrees, everything on this album from start to finish is great, I think. And in 13, really continues that tradition.
I really enjoyed that record.
Yeah. It's probably, whenever I was listening to it, I thought, or before I started this, before we listened to this, I really thought Endgame was my favorite album of all the stuff since Cryptic Writings before Dystopia.
Yeah.
And it might still be, but I don't know. Yeah, listening to 13 again for the first time in a couple of years, really sunk in with me how great that is.
Yeah, 13 is a great record. It's up there with Rust in Peace and Peace Cells and all that to me. And Whose Life Is This Anyways? I mean, that's just a great fucking song.
Yeah. Guns, Drugs, and Money.
Yeah, yeah.
New World Order.
Yep.
That was cool.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great record.
Him and Super Collider, we already kind of got into that, but like you said, when Kingmaker starts, and even that whole song, it just sounds like Megadeth.
Yeah.
I don't get the deal. Super Collider, the song, I can hear, it's a little different. Songs in there like Dance in the Rain and stuff that, are a little bit different.
Black as Crow.
Yeah.
That kind of starts out a little different,
and is straight up just like hard rock.
Yeah.
But it's one of the best songs of this whole era as well, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And then Don't Turn Your Back on a Friend, that riff and that whole song is great.
It's just the Super Collider is pretty
eclectic.
Yeah. And I think that was the first thing they put out, and that's what made everybody's pussy hurt.
Oh, the song
off the bat.
Oh, the song.
The song, yeah. So I mean, excuse me, the song. And that's just what made everybody, because that's that's not what you're expecting, something real catchy, and like the message is kind of positive, and usually Megadeth is talking about warheads and politicians and shit blowing up and target practice and shit. So
if they had led with Built for War or Kingmaker, then probably wouldn't even
people would have been like, oh, okay, cool. And the fact that wasn't fucking the guy from Disturbed singing on one of these songs, or helped him write some stuff on this record or something?
I completely forgot that.
Yeah, that probably pissed people off too.
Yeah.
But what do you do?
Well, I mean, we've talked about this in detail on after it came out, and again on our Best of 2016 podcast. But Dystopia is
man, yeah.
We talked about with United Abominations and Endgame being a return to form. This is as return to form as it can get, basically.
Yeah, they are back, and they never really went anywhere anyways. But man, well, I mean, what a fucking record.
If you don't know the story, he brought in Chris Adler, which you do know that. But if you don't know the fact, he brought him in and was real open to letting him be involved in the writing process and giving suggestions and stuff. And every time Dave Mustaine would come back with something, Chris Adler would shoot it down if he didn't think that it was, and basically said, quote, his Megadeth that he remembered, from this is his favorite band. And, Dave Mustaine being open to that obviously worked.
Yeah, it did something, didn't it?
Yeah. Because every song on here is fucking fantastic. And
yeah, there's not a clam on here. There's not a ding at all.
Yeah, and I don't know if I would put it above. This might piss someone off. I don't think I'd put it above Cryptic Writings on my list if I was making my list of in order of how good these albums are.
Yeah,
but it'd probably be number 5.
Yeah,
maybe
definitely.
5 or 6 at the least. So yeah, it'll be kind of interesting now, like you mentioned, if they're already writing, if Chris Adler's not there, which he's not, I don't think. If he's not involved in the writing process, like how's this going to go? Is it Dave going to continue in this fashion, or is he going to slip back in?
The response to this was so good, but everything. So I can only imagine they're going to keep this up.
Yeah. So you got to wonder if whenever he was, after Chris Broderick and Sean Drover left, whenever he was looking for the replacements and, all the stuff came out that he had asked Marty Friedman.
Yeah.
If that had came to fruition, like would we still have something like this, or would it have been something different?
I don't know. That's a good question.
If it was like Marty Friedman and Chris Adler. No offense to Kiko, but if we had Chris Adler in there pushing him and Marty Friedman playing the shit, that would have been unbelievable.
Yeah, it would have been. But Marty Friedman's he's not in that kind of headspace anymore. Though.
That's true.
He's gonna come in there in his kimono and
his Hello Kitty guitar.
Yeah, he's gonna host a crazy fucking game show where they throw you off the building, and I don't know. It might have been a completely different beast, man.
Bang pop or K-pop. Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, what minutes and probably dystopia. What's your favorite song to come out after Cryptic Writings, excluding Breadline?
God, I'm glad I made this fucking list, Trent. I really love 44 minutes. God, I think whose life is this anyways? I think that gets mine. I really dig that song.
Really?
I'm gonna. That's my vote. That's it.
All right.
That's what I'm gonna say.
Okay. Do you think Whose Life Is It Anyway is as good as Whose Fist Is This Anyway by Prong?
No.
Okay.
No, because that song is badass, beyond badass. But we're talking about Megadeth here, damn it.
Right. So I just brought it up. Let's do
Prong next.
Prong every album in a row.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Well, we haven't decided what's next. We've thrown around the idea of Guns N' Roses and Pantera, so probably one of those, I think.
Yeah.
So can you imagine after listening to 16 Megadeth albums in a row, and then before that was it 12 Metallica?
13 Metallica.
Yeah. So if you count Garage Inc., it's basically 2 albums, so probably 13, yeah. Pantera or Guns N' Roses is going to feel like a walk in the park.
I know. It's going to be so easy now.
Because they're both like five albums.
Yeah. We got this. We can do this, man.
Yeah, we can do this shit. Like, just turn this off and do it real quick.
Let's do it right now.
Right. Well, if this is your first time listening to anything we've done, click on that subscribe button. These, like we just talked about, we do other reactions when stuff comes out, the new Metallica album, Avenged Sevenfold, Black Sabbath concerts, all kinds of stuff. We've got the podcast is on here on YouTube as well, but it's also on soundcloud.com/thunder-underground. You can find us on the web at thethunderunderground.com. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Had on guys from Speaking of Megadeth. Chris Broderick was on here.
Yes.
He was on 3 of those albums we just talked about. He's also got a great new band called Active Defiance. Like thrash. Sid Falk, formerly of Overkill. Battlecross and Insight, some newer bands. And then we've had on guys. Yeah, Legion. Great band you need to check out. We've had on guys from Corrosion Conformity, Soil, Sons of Texas, Drowning Pool, Avatar, Great White, Warrant, John a blank. Sorry.
That's it. That's a pretty good list.
There's your list.
There's your list.
Yeah, we've got 111 episodes so far.
Definitely.
And we'll have 112 here in a couple of days.
Yeah, and a couple geeks talking about one of our favorite bands. I dug it.
Yeah. So hit that subscribe button and find out about every album in a row from Guns N' Roses.
There'll be more to come.
I just called it Guns N' Roses Next.
We're doing it then.
All right.